Hey guys, welcome back. So today's video is going to be me sharing my experience dabbling or selling on the RealReal and ThredUp. And I do not and have not sold on either of these platforms in quite some time, but I still get asked about it in my YouTube comments, on Instagram, and even in person when I meet people, when I'm out actually thrifting, when I meet people out thrifting. So I thought I'd just make a video sharing my experience. It has been a while, but I do have some numbers here I thought I would share and just give you my general opinion, if that means anything. So if you aren't subscribed and you like reseller content, specifically around eBay and Poshmark, definitely consider hitting the subscribe button down below. And if you like this video, the thumbs up always means a lot, and I very much appreciate it these days. Editing Courtney here. My apologies for the interruption. If you are in the market for a gently used iPhone, the phone that I'm filming with right now is on sale. I'll leave the details down below. I'll also write if it's been sold down below. But basically I had a buyer lined up. I bought a new iPhone. It has some better camera options. And since I do all my filming with my iPhones and I don't invest a lot in these channels, I thought someday it would be better to get a new camera. But if I don't have a buyer lined up, I'm probably just gonna return the new iPhone until there's a better time. So if you're interested and you want a gently used iPhone with good storage, see the details down below, let me know, hit me up, and there's an email down below. And yeah, all right, back to the video. All right, so I'm gonna start with the RealReal and tell you how much I made, how many items sold, approximately how long it took for things to sell, etc. Kind of my thoughts, good and bad, on the platform, and then I'll jump into ThredUp. At the end, I will share with you if I would sell on either of these, and if not, why. So the RealReal, I made $487 in payout. So that was after their fees. And I sent in items December 2018, and the last item sold September 2019. So the last check I received was October 2019. Yes, you heard that right. I received checks. I don't know why. I don't know what I did wrong when I set up my account. I must have been lazy. I'm pretty sure it was that I was lazy and I didn't have my card handy, and so I was like, oh, I'll just do checks. And then sure enough, I got checks the entire time. But so in that period of time, I sold 22 items. Keep in mind, I sent in 30 items all at once, all in December of 2018. I think I sent it in November of 2018 and it was processed in December of 2018. So why did I start on the RealReal? Because this was the first one I used. There was someone, yeah, she had made some comment or some Insta story that said, if you send in X amount of items, you will get $100 credit or something. I can't remember what it was, but there was some incentive. And it was a $100 credit, or it was $100 from the RealReal and $100 from Stella McCartney or something like that. And so I thought, great, $200. All I have to do is send in X amount. I think it was 20 items, designer items. Great. I sent in 30. 22 were accepted, 8 were rejected and sent back to me for free. And I ended up making $487 with pretty much doing very little. Now, at the time, I was not shopping at the bins. So all of these items I for sure paid somewhere between $5 to $10 for. Probably most of them were $5 to $8. But not a bad deal for sending in one box. What I loved about the RealReal was from the moment I signed up to even today, I still get emails that are personalized. I had one name. I think my person ended up switching midway through, but for the most part, I had a contact, an individual. There could have been some automation with emails, and that's okay, but I still felt like I could connect to one person. And there was very much like a VIP treatment as a consignor with the RealReal. It was very easy. They checked in with me. It was a very pleasant experience. So yeah. What does that break down to? So the $487 divided by 22 items sold, it breaks down to $22.14 per item. Now you're thinking, well, Courtney, you didn't have to take photos. You didn't have to package and store in your inventory. You didn't have to list them. You didn't have to ship them. All of the fun stuff, you didn't have to do any of that, which is 100% true. But when you take a look at the items I sent in, these are items that probably sold between $50 to $100. So Was it nice that I didn't have to worry about that stuff? Was it nice that I got the $200 in credit to spend on items that I could then, which I did, go and resell for a small profit as well? Yeah, and I didn't include that $200 payout in this calculation because it wasn't a cash payout, it was a credit, and I did have to kind of go and buy and then resell in a different way. But that also adds to kind of why I tried it and why I think it was worthwhile for me. If you take approximately $5 per item as my cost of goods, it brings it down to $17.14 in net profit before taxes. I don't think that's terrible. And I think this is one of the reasons why, overall I was pretty happy with the RealReal. Now, some of the bonuses, some of these things may have changed because it has been a while. And in fact, if you want, I think, and I could be wrong, but the last video I saw of someone talking about the RealReal was, I believe his YouTube name is Jack Valentine. If not, I will try and find it and link it here. I'll try and remember. But I believe he is a regular consignor with the RealReal and does fairly well. There are things like percentage, a payout goes up the more you consign with them. There's a lot of things to factor in, and he does a really great job at kind of breaking down his stuff. But that, I feel like the last video I saw of his was a few months ago, so I'm not sure. But definitely go check out his past videos because I think he did a really great job explaining. But, a lot of these items I could have sold for more on my own because these items weren't listed for very long. They were designer on their list, and the payout, I wasn't doing much, but yeah. Some of the bonuses, these items stayed on their site. This is probably one of the biggest bonuses. They stayed on their site until they sold. Now, I don't know if they have a cutoff point because everything sold within a year. So December 2018 was when I had my first sale, and then the last sale was September of 2019. But what I appreciate about that is a lot of designer pieces, especially, you're waiting for the right buyer, and you might have a rare item, or there's just not a great demand for something, or it's a very high, expensive price. And so it might take more than a few months to sell. And so I appreciated that, it was there hanging on until the bitter end. I loved having an easy contact person. I felt like I had a virtual relationship with someone, which was great. It made me kind of feel special. It was a very easy process. I do know some people send in stuff that is not on their designer list. I wasn't that gutsy. I don't think. I sent in stuff that was on their designer list or what I thought was designer at the time. So it was really easy. And the designer list is just really easy to navigate, or it was for me. So because I source in Los Angeles, I live 2 hours away from Los Angeles, but that's where I do all my sourcing. I do come across quite a few designer pieces in general when I am sourcing. And so finding designer items is not the hardest thing for me. But keep in mind, I also don't go sourcing all that much because I do have to drive to go sourcing anywhere. I only go sourcing typically once, at most twice per week. And so if I were someone who could go every day because I lived close to the bins or, something like that, I probably would look at this situation pretty differently. And if you have access to go sourcing all the time and can pick up a lot of designer items, I would probably have a different opinion if it were me. But for me, it's not easy to get a lot of stuff. And so when I pick up a designer item, I kind of want to list it and try and sell it on my own. So the dislikes with the RealReal, and again, things could have changed, but I couldn't edit prices. And that frustrated me because I think a couple of the items I was like, no, I know this is worth more, or I thought it was worth more. Keep in mind, whether it's eBay versus Poshmark versus Mercari versus ThredUp versus the RealReal, there are different buyers on a lot of these sites. Occasionally. And so there might be different value held to different brands and whatnot. So, what might sell on eBay for $200 might only really sell for $50 on the RealReal. And I'm assuming they have pretty good data. They've been around for a while and they kind of focus on designer items. But it was frustrating not to be able to edit prices when I thought they could kind of get a little bit more. The other thing was when you get we've accepted these items email, there's a price that they're going to list it at. And you're like, great, they're going to sell it for 50. I'm going to get this percentage off of that. Great. I don't remember what it was, but a lot of times they run a lot of sales and they have discounts, and that does eat into your profit. So it was really hard to know what something was going to sell for until it actually sold based off of whatever discount that person was using. Again, things could have changed. It's been a while, but this was just my personal experience. So I did not send anything else in because shortly after this, I had met some people who really raved about ThredUp, and we're doing a lot of selling on ThredUp. Now there's a lot of content out there and I don't know any of it. I don't follow any of the ThredUp selling content. It's just not of any interest to me. I feel like these companies are kind of like people. You know, if I meet someone and I kind of have a negative experience, I'm just kind of like, all right, bye. I kind of felt that way with these two sites. I just kind of was like, I didn't really have the greatest experience. So, okay, bye. I don't know. So with ThredUp, I started sending stuff in there instead because these people were like, you can send in anything. They'll accept the most random stuff. They'll accept all new with tags. It's great. You can edit your prices. There was so much positivity around ThredUp, and I was like, great, I'm going all in. I feel like I'm screaming because this is just bringing up all these emotions. It was not terrible, but I think I overdid it. I think the good thing with the RealReal was I sent in one box of 30 items, 22 were accepted, 8 were sent back to me for free. And I got to see how those played out, right? So I got to kind of analyze that process. With ThredUp, I sent in my first box of like jam-packed, I don't remember what the weight limit was, but let's say 30 pounds. And I sent that in with a ThredUp Luxe label, and I put in at least one ThredUp Luxe item. I was like, great, on to the next. And I started making my next box. And I think I sent in 7 boxes of approximately 30 pounds, whatever the weight limit was. Now, and this all happened from February 2019 through March of 2019. Immediately I started going, okay, I just want to experiment. I'm shopping at the bins because that's when I was really big into the bins, and that was pretty much the only place I was buying. I don't think I realized until things started going on how this was going to play out in a negative way for me. So I'm just going to break down. I made $593.68. And you're thinking, well, that's great. It's more than the RealReal. Well, absolutely. However, that was 117 items sold. And it took, I think you have about 3 months of something being listed to when they actually pull it to put in rescue boxes. I believe someone can correct me in the comments below if I'm incorrect about that. But at the time, I think it was 30 days. So if I started sending in stuff from February, March, April, May, June, July, August. So basically everything was out of their system at the very latest by August of 2019. And I ended up selling 117 items. It broke down to $5.07 per item. If you factor in, I was probably only paying about $2 per item for these. So the RealReal, I was paying that for things because I wasn't shopping at the bins at that time. ThredUp, I was almost exclusively shopping at the bins at this time. And on average, my prices are between about $1.80 to $2 per item, just depending on weight. My bins are not that cheap. And when you factor in, you might have a coat and you might have a tank top, it just kind of balances out. So yeah, if you're assuming that I had $2 cost of goods, it brings it down to $3.07 per item, net profit. Now that doesn't sound terrible, but here's the kicker. One item out of the 117 paid out, so this is what I got for that one item, was $271.80. Trust me, it was a one-off. It was a designer named Simone Roca. I found this dress at the bins. I contemplated, should I list this on my own? It was a very rare designer. It was a very unusual style that I knew I would have a hard time taking photos of, capturing the detail. And I just thought, I'm just gonna send this in. They didn't have many comps in their calculator because it is just a rare brand. So I just took a shot. Well, they ended up selling it for around $300, and I think I got 90% of the payout at that time. And so that is amazing. There are some winners. There are some gems on there. But when you remove that $271.80, it brings it down to each item payout was $2.77 per item. When you remove that $2 cost of goods for me approximately. It leaves me with 77 cents per item. Now, I still have to put boxes together. I still have to deal with the rejects getting sent back to me and then figuring out, oh, wow, I picked up these items that I'm not really wanting to list, but I just picked up for ThredUp and they didn't take them. There was still a lot of work involved. Now, I didn't have to take photos. I didn't have to deal with customer service. I didn't have to list all of that stuff, but there was still time being spent on this. And wow, when you break it down like that, it definitely was, looking back, not a great experiment on my part. Now, one thing, could I have done a better job? Absolutely. I was in the mindset of, I'm buying things cheap. I will send in stuff. So-and-so said they like this brand. I think it was like BCBG Max Azria. So I sent a whole bunch of stuff because I was like, I have a hard time selling it over on my platforms. I'll just pick up all of it that I see and send it in. Well, they didn't accept it all. And so it started getting very frustrating that it was very inconsistent for me. But I also just didn't have much patience. Now, if you are watching this and you're like, I kill it on ThredUp, awesome. I 100% did not kill it. I applaud anyone who has the patience to learn the site. But I also just don't think I would ever want to keep up with it. I think I want to focus. I want to buy things that I want to sell. And I was picking up a lot of stuff so that I could send stuff in. And it was really just not something that made me happy. If I had access to the bins and I wanted to make weight to have a decreased price at the bins, and I could go every day and I wanted to pick out the things I liked and I could send in the rest. I don't know what you would do with the returned items. There is a model there for people. Maybe if you have cheaper bins, etc. I could kind of go on and on about this, but just keep in mind my perspective. I only go sourcing 1 day a week and I have to travel quite a distance to do that. My bins are not all that cheap and I just didn't like the process. So it's biased in that sense. Now, some bonuses with ThredUp was that you could edit the prices at the time. I don't know if you still can. You could also at the time take upfront cash. So maybe you're just sending in stuff from your own closet and you're like, I just think this is better than doing a yard sale. And you just want upfront cash. It was less than what you could get on consignment, but you were also just kind of guaranteed that upfront. So that was really great. I have heard they don't have that anymore. I could be wrong. Maybe someone could update in the comments, but and then you could send anything in. So it wasn't just designer, although they accepted designer as well. Anything except no men's, I think. The dislikes. So probably the biggest dislike was the short selling window. So when things that I sent that were accepted in February of 2019 were listed, and then all of a sudden, 60 days goes by, all of a sudden it's like, oh man, I gotta lower my price. I want it to sell because if it doesn't sell, then I'm gonna have to pay to get it back. I'm not gonna pay to get it back. So then it's going to go into a rescue box and I get nothing for it. So I started decreasing prices. And then that's where that time spent comes in. It may not be a lot of time spent doing the work upstairs, taking the photos and stuff like that, but just the managing of trying to change prices, all of that stuff, it was top of mind and it just took me away from other things. So my customer service experience has been less than stellar from both a buying and a selling aspect on ThredUp. And, I don't knock the people working there. I am assuming it's a minimum wage job, a call center environment, minimal training. Here's some saved replies. If they ask this question, just, say this to them, copy and paste this, something. I don't know. This is just an assumption, but I don't think they've intentionally, it's the people. I think they're trying their best, but not quick responses, very black and white responses, not really looking at, this isn't really black and white. There could be exceptions. I just have overall just not been happy with my customer experience with ThredUp. And that's a big deal for me, especially when you have money and time invested in something. So the condition stated was not always accurate. So this is a kicker for me. There were times where they would accept an item and you'd go look at the listing and it would say excellent condition. You'd almost mistake it as brand new, or I don't know how they word it, but something to that effect. And I'd be like, I sent in that item. What were they looking at? That was not, it was good pre-owned condition, but no, it wasn't mistake it for new. It was clearly pre-owned. So it was very thrown off by that. Like, who's looking at this stuff and what are they, I don't know. What are they comparing it to? Because in my standards, I was sending in a variety, but nothing bad. I would never send in bad stuff, but like I wouldn't use that on the majority of items. Maybe it's because I undersell, or I describe things as like good pre-owned condition. I never say excellent because I don't know. I don't want to disappoint someone. But and then the unsold items. So there was a very short window of time. And so it was very hard because then I was trying to get things to sell, and I didn't care if it sold for $5 and it was really worth $50. I was like, I'd rather get that couple dollars back from ThredUp than have it go into some rescue box. That really, I think, frustrated me because there's just not the right buyer for a lot of things in such a short period of time. And I understand why they do that. There's a lot of consignment stores that want turnover to keep things fresh, and I appreciate it, but it was hard as a seller. So overall, I applaud anyone that can do it, but I will never ever send anything else into ThredUp. They would pretty much have to be a different company for me to try it, because I just didn't have a great experience, and I really tried to give it a fair shot. And yes, there are things that I've learned since then that I probably would have done differently. But again, looking at my circumstances where I don't have access to a lot of product and a lot of sourcing, it probably will just never work for me, even if I had all the knowledge and experience. But also, I just did not like when things went wrong. I didn't like how things were handled. So ThredUp 100%, and I'll probably make a separate video on soon why I won't be using ThredUp at all. I won't be referring them. I will use up my remaining credits that I have, and I will actually ask them to cancel my account because I've really just not been impressed, and I've been trying to like them for a while, but it's not something for me. The RealReal, I probably won't use, but maybe. I'm not going to knock that one completely down because overall I had a decent experience. And I think if you do have access to some designer stuff, I think the only difference I would do there is I would give it a chance to sell on my own. And maybe it sat for a year and I'm just tired of looking at it. And I think, well, maybe it will do better on the RealReal. And I haven't done that yet. Again, it's been since December of 2018 since I sent anything into them. But I could see myself at some point wanting to purge some designer stuff and just looking at that as an option. So anyways, those are my thoughts. I hope you enjoyed. Definitely hit the thumbs up if you liked this comparison. It's not knocking either of these companies or people who like either of these companies. I think we all probably have slightly different experiences, but I just want to pick up things that I want to sell, that I think I can sell, that I think I can make a profit on. And for right now, I'm pretty content with eBay, Poshmark, and then sharing my journey on YouTube. So anyways, I will see you guys soon. I hope everyone's doing well, and yeah, bye guys.